and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Tuesday, 16 September. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Qatar and the US have finalised an enhanced defence cooperation agreement. Netanyahu says Israel should invest in influence operations to counteract isolation. And Sweden has pushed back on Hungary's Orban over a crime joke. So firstly, Qatar and the United States are on the verge of finalising an enhanced defence cooperation agreement, said top US diplomat Marco Rubio, who was on his way to Doha from Tel Aviv on Tuesday after Israel's attack on Hamas political leaders in Qatar last week drew widespread condemnation. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he did not rule out further strikes on Hamas leaders wherever they are, as the heads of Arab and Islamic states held a summit to back Qatar after Israel's attack last week in the Gulf states. So what? I think it's unlikely that Qatar didn't know about the strike leading up to it. The key indicators for me are that the United States basically let it happen. So I think it's unlikely that Qatar wasn't at least informed to some degree in the very high echelons and is in a very minor way complicit in this strike. However, some Qataris did die, so it's always going to have cause a bit of drama when that happens. Additionally, the US almost certainly knew and allowed it to happen, if not supported it in some way, providing intelligence. So it's a pretty interesting thing, and maybe this enhanced defence cooperation agreement was part of a deal that was agreed upon to allow the strike to go ahead and take out these senior leaders. However, Hamas has denied it killed the targets, though we're yet to see any proof that they're still alive, which to me indicates they are probably gone. And next, Israel needs to invest heavily in influence operations in traditional and social media to counteract economic isolation arising from negative publicity abroad, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Monday. Speaking at a finance ministry conference, Netanyahu said foreign investment into Israel had held up in the wake of the 12-day war against Iran in June, which he said removed an immediate threat of a nuclear-armed foe. So what? Well, on the face of it, this sounds really bad. I agree with him that Israel does need to invest more into influence operations because they are currently losing the information war when it comes to how this conflict is, the narrative around this conflict is being portrayed. In my opinion, we're currently in the middle of an information war between the Western traditional powers and Russia, China, Iran. This is pretty clear to me. Like, there's lots of stuff on the internet talking about this, lots of information operations going down. And key thing post the Charlie Kirk assassination was a number of Russian and Iranian bots trying to push the civil war narrative, stuff like that. So, in my opinion, Israel has lost in a big way the information war around their conflict against Hamas. Hamas and their backers, the Iranian regime, have done an incredible job of selling a narrative that Israel is the bad people in this conflict, and while they have done some bad things, I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as a lot of people in the Western world think. I mean, it's pretty easy to sell that Israel was the aggressor when you have videos of people getting killed and all these stories, but Israel needs to do more to fight, to push back against these false narratives, as a lot of this is set up. A lot of it is not necessarily true or happen in the way that it is portrayed. So I don't disagree, even though it sounds quite bad. And lastly, The Swedish Prime Minister has accused his Hungarian counterpart of spreading outrageous lies on Monday after Viktor Orban said the Nordic country was collapsing as gangs hired scores of children as assassins. Orban's Eurosceptic nationalist, who is facing what could be his toughest election yet in 2026, has regularly sought to rally his supporters by portraying a moral decline in other Western nations and contrasting them with Hungary. So what? I mean, I somewhat agree. I somewhat agree with Orban, kind of. I don't think that Sweden is collapsing, but they definitely have a large issue with gangs, to the point where I think they've deployed the military to try and quell gang violence. So, he's not wrong that there is issues with gangs in Sweden. However, Sweden is doing a shitload better than Hungary in a lot of aspects. Hungary is one of the poorest countries in Europe, and they don't really doing much to increase their position. So, I don't think Orban has much of a leg to stand on, as Sweden is a pretty successful country in its own right. Additionally, Orban is disgustingly corrupt. Him and his family and friends have absolutely rinsed Hungary for all it's worth. So, I definitely hope he gets voted out. It would be great for Hungary. But we'll have to see how the elections go. Definitely one I'm keeping an eye on. But thank you for listening to the Antar Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.